I can't tell you how many times I watched some Marvel 3 gameplay. Specifically, motherfuckers playing Dante. And I see people treating him just as an assist rather than the powerhouse of a character he is, right? Even though there are many good Dante players, I personally feel like there isn't enough information for a new player to learn how to really delve deep into the character with the most moves in this game, right? There's plenty of guys teaching you how to combo, bold cancels, all of that cool shit, right? This video ain't gonna be none of that. This video is to go through the intricacies of each of Dante's moves to help you navigate the neutral, right? Because what good is doing all these cool combos if you can't get the hit? So, boom. Dante's main goal is to waste time. If you don't agree, argue with your mother about it, right? The majority of this kit is based around putting projectiles on the screen and shit, so I'll be damned if people don't begin to start using some of them, right? Just to further the argument that Dante's main goal is to waste time, all of his best combos still do very little damage compared to his others in the game for the amount of effort he has to put in, right? So with that in mind, you really want to frustrate your opponents with putting out projectiles on the screen so they take plenty of chip damage and whatnot on the way in, right? Even if it comes down to V canceling, I'll post a link at the bottom, as the creator already put out a very useful video for that shit, right? You must really use fucking every tool Dante has to ensure victory. Doing combos are cool, but yeah, like I said before, what's the point of all that shit if you really can't whatchamacallit get the hit, right? Alright, suck. Alright, so Dante's best paired with the damage dealer, right? Since his is lacking. Most folk use him to either DAC or hard tag into characters who are capable of doing more damage, but that doesn't mean Dante don't got his uses, right? So with Dante's high scaling on his damage, understanding when to have Dante on the screen and when to tag him out is very important. With 49 of the characters in the cast, there's a good number of pairs who go very well with Dante for the damage output that he craves ever so much, right? Be his brother Virgil, Doctor Strange, Doctor Doom, Frank West. There's plenty of options to assure you to get the hits you need to Dante to actually mean something, right? One thing that cannot be stressed enough is that depending on your assist, your approach to neutral will differ compared to other teams with Dante on it, right? Horizontal assists will allow you to approach neutral with a much more mix-up heavy game, whereas assists that require Dante to get more gimmicky with teleports, whereas other assists require you... all right, you know what? You gotta drink the coffee, right? So imagine this. You got a huge sword. You could swing huge sword. Huge sword does cool looking things, right? God forbid it does any damage though. Dante's normals probably have the most pros and cons out of any character in this game. Not only is his fastest normal 8 frames, the fastest normal in this game being 4 frames, to put that into perspective, he's not exactly the brawling kind of character, right? Sure, you may be able to land a helm breaker and a kerfuffle because your opponent made the decision to go under you and get hit, but that's not a reliable strategy if you're looking for consistent wins, right? So first things first, understanding the spacing that Dante has with his normals and command normals. While Dante's frame data is pretty abysmal, where it really shines is the reach that he has over the rest of the cast, right? Great example is how good the range of his stinger is, which can allow you to bold cancel into whatever you need see fit, right? So that's the range. It's kind of full screen. You can see you could do some shit, right? It's pretty nifty, right? It's possible to cancel out of the normals with bold move as well. So it's definitely super duper effective when it comes to applying pressure. So let's set this guy to block real quick. Right, just to give you an idea, right? Not saying that that's good block strength pressure, but it's just a placeholder for now, right? Excuse me. It's possible to get the bold jump out of Dante's normals, but not his command normals, right? Just with the exception of Stinger. So you could do this, no bold jump, right? You could bold jump out of crouch heavy though, right? So you can't bold jump out of that, can't bold jump out of that, but you can bold jump out of medium, right? So boom. So allowing yourself the truly get used to this and everything, and practicing this will help you. It'll help your mix-up game become even stronger with when you apply assist behind it, right? So just keep that in mind. Wouldn't say, once again, don't go for this all the time. This is just something you want to have in your arsenal for when the time is ready. Time is right, whatever, right? I'm stoned, leave me alone. All right, so Dante stand light is probably his most consistent anti-air. It's also a decent poke. If you land it as an anti-air, you will not be able to confirm off of it. It really is just like, hey, get off me type of shit, like, right? If your routing is proper and you're hitting it for max range, you could be able to do something like that, right? Because at that point, right, heavy is gonna whiff, right? So that's the reason why you gotta really watch your strings, especially at max range, right? So it's also decent if they're just close enough to hit them with the whole magic series, but I really wouldn't even try to press this shit like point blank range. Like, you gotta play this motherfucker like Marth if y'all familiar with Smash, right? So his crouch light is pretty it's a crouch light, but it really isn't the best. On top of that, on certain characters it will whiff. Doctor Strange is a decent example. So just it's not consistent. Sometimes it hits, there you go, right? So there's times it will whiff, there's times it'll land. It's not a consistent thing. If you want to make sure you land with it, you got to make sure you are at the proper distancing, because if you are too close, that happens, right? It's also pretty decent if you're trying to get air-to-air confirmed and you're closer enough to get it, right? So let's just set this guy to jump real quick just to give an example. Wait, no. Yeah, Stranger's never the best example. Right? Something like that. Not consistent, but you could absolutely get it if, you know, the stars align. Right? Where were we? Aside from that, it's also pretty great on air confirms when using airplay into falling or dash heavy. His stand medium is halfway decent. Has the possibility of hitting behind him too on the bigger body characters. It's usually used as a combo starter, but this is only if you're incapable of utilizing his crouch medium, right? Crouch medium is arguably his best poke. It'll shine once you apply Stinger after it, because it'll allow for maximum range. The better how well you could use your crouch medium. Using Crystal will actually help you learn the spacing. Right, so you could also throw this all the time after Crystal, right? If it hits, not even if they block, like, this is a solid check, right? And you always want to be mindful of the range in which you're throwing it, right? Because as you can see, I'm right around here. Like, can I move my mouse? This show, yeah, like right around here, right? We're showing it like this guy right here, right? You still popping her, boom, right? So using Crystal can help you understand the spacing better while using it as a frame trap. Applying Stinger after crouch medium also helps Dante confirming potential. Be mindful at max range, Dante will miss a volcano though, leaving him exposed. So that's the reason why it's probably decent to go into this thing, the close the distance double trigger, because you could follow up with another Stinger afterwards, right? His crouch heavy is a bit weaker version of the million stabs, right? Which is honestly used in 1 or 2 instances. First thing is Frank West teams, right? Having those multiple hits that really don't do much damage is kind of important for Frank, so you always want to optimize as far as like getting the amount of hits, because Frank levels up based off hits, right? Aside from that, its uses are pretty niche. The other application I could think of is literally just that. It helps space it proper for the S and everything. Aside from those two instances there, I wouldn't really ever recommend this because it kills your damage way too much, right? So his jump light is mostly used for air-to-air pokes for its decent range, but struggles with startup frames just like the rest of his buttons. So far, the biggest use I found for this button is instant air dashing into light, so it'll whiff on crouching opponents, right? So let's put this bitch in the corner, right? Right, so even if a character is a little bit bigger, like Dante, who's pretty, right, you could use it to fake out an overhead. If you have an assist behind you, my assist really don't allow me to whatchamacallit properly set that up, but it is possible if you have something that locks down better than what I have, right? The block stun from other buttons will make it easier to block that mix, so it helps a bit have this in your back pocket, right? Another great use is baiting out box dashing with his light is it could be OS grabs. So if you know somebody's gonna grab you and they press you forward heavy, depending on the character, you could just backdash and then pop them, right? Follow up with stand light. It should be it's kind of a hard read. So the further you get used to Dante, I would say like maybe a few months of playing as him, you'll start understanding where you're not safe and your opponent's habits. So that's when you kind of want to use that read or whatever. Like you just don't ever want to throw it out unless you can ensure that your opponent's trying to mash grab on you, right? Few people find not very few people find uses for this move, but it's surely underrated as it could be used for oh wait, no, what am I looking for? Rainstorm. All right, I'm reading the wrong thing. All right, so his jump all right, we're on his jump medium. His jump medium is a great button, but also useful for air to air. It's mostly used for instant overhead setups or left-right mix-ups like this. I personally find myself pressing this button 100% of the time in airplay when I'm out of neutral or whatever, right? However, if I ever do hit people with airplay, I do use falling heavy, right? Not only does it allow for easier confirms from airplay, but it's a decent option to select as it hits opponents on both sides, the medium, right? So let's say, wait, no, that's not an option. Oh wait, I'm stupid. That's as heavy. Yeah, that's as heavy. If they're standing, it's a decent option to select. If they're crouched, it's not. Right, so because it hits both sides if they're standing, right? They try to jump grab you, you could kind of get it. Right, it's kind of niche though. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know why I wrote it's a good whatever, right? But if they're crouching, that's the reason why you want to use this right after airplay, because if they try to go underneath you, this hits both sides. If you're crouching, shit's shit's proper, right? Very few people however, one move that cannot be OS, right, that I find as I found out the hard way, is Rainstorm, which is this move right here. Very few people find uses for this move, but it's severely underrated as it does have like plenty of situations, right? So you could use it as a way to remove Dormammu's flame carpet if you find yourself just about to land on it, covering yourself with an assist, of course. Like you can't do that shit in front of Dormammu, like that shit's legal. So you got to make sure if you're gonna cut out flame carpet, you got to have an assist behind you, right? My favorite uses very unexplored combo extension, which one of the homies put me up on, which is this guy right here. Got that from Coach Arithmatic. So he's capable of getting that extension with a lot of characters who have upward moving assists. Depending on the assist though, you would have to jump backwards or neutral jump, or the timing on the assist call during the Rainstorm differs, but it's super duper useful. right? Let's see, where are we? It's very possible to remove, oh no, we did that already. Last but not least, out of Dante's air options, right, is for his normals is just Houndbreaker. Like, very nifty, slow as fuck overhead with a decent hit sphere, but can be canceled into other things like airplay, Killer Bee, or Skydance, right? So getting back to his grounded options, we have his launch, which is extremely fucking unsafe. Right, it's decent in X Factor. You could treat it as a fast button in X Factor. I'll keep it a buck though. There have been players like NoLife, Starchy Mahaboob, formerly known as X-Man Chris. They've shown that it could actually be useful as a decent anti-air. They don't make a habit out of it, and they do very well throwing that button out when you try to approach them as jumping, so it can be used in that sense. However, recognizing when your opponent's defense is good is kind of like important when it comes to doing that, right? Also make it a habit to not use this button at the end of your block strings. Just please don't do it, right? So from here we have the Great Stinger, an almost full screen move. It actually be bold canceled into Devil Trigger to land another Stinger, so you can initiate your BMB. When mashed, you get the absolutely useless, unless you have Frank on your team, Million Stabs, right? I put it unless twice there. I can't read. Just like Dante's Crouch Heavy, it scales the fuck out of your damage and is mostly easier way to level up Frank. Otherwise, avoid this move at all costs, please. Right? Stinger also comes in two forms, level 1 and level 2. To achieve the level 1 Stinger, you simply press forward and heavy at the same time. However, to get a level 2 Stinger, it must be canceled out of command normals, right? So it can mostly be seen after Cold Shower or Clay Pigeon, right? So anytime you're throwing any bullets or whatever, but except there, but it'll be a level 2. Whenever you get that little shing before the Stinger, that's when you know it's a level 2, right? Now if you happen to mash after either Stinger, oh yeah, we said that already. You could cancel out a Scat Shot into a level 1, with a Scat Shot being this guy. It's halfway decent. Wait, no, into a level 2 Stinger. I said level 1. Level 2 Stinger. Each shot only has 1 hit of durability, so if you're going to try to use this as a way to poke, make sure there's no projectiles on the screen because you will lose, right? From there we have let's see, Scat Shot. Mostly uses poke to assist behind the Scat Shot, is seldom used by Dante unless they're mashing. From here we have the mighty goated Weasel Shot. Plus as fuck on block. It's very possible to call an assist at the same time while using this move. Plus using the plus frames from that combined with the assist will allow you to apply some really tricky bullshit, right? From here, after after Weasel Shot, we do have this guy, Cold Shower, right? Mostly used as a way to pick up people from an OTG, get your little wall bounce combos, whatever the fuck. No real appliances after that, I would say, unless something like that. Cute little block string, nothing too major though. Now let's see. Clay Pigeon is mostly used after launch and mostly used for increasing damage in meter build. So that would be your gun loops, right? So let's say for instance we just go here. That shot up is your Clay Pigeon, right? So mostly you'll see people doing that. It's great for damage and meter build. It can repeat it 5 times at max, but that's super inconsistent. Most of the times you'll see people either opt for 2, 3 to 4. There's even ways where you don't even need to do all that. You could just use the first shot and be able to get that. But all that stuff is really, really specific and whatnot as far as like understanding when you can be able to do that. So I'll just leave like extra videos and whatnot at the bottom, so this way you guys could really get to that next session. Dante has more than airplay, box jump M, and teleports in his goddamn toolkit. While I can't expect everybody to land their combos because Parsec being Parsec, I'll never forgive folks who neglect his kit. He has very few bad matchups in his entire kit when utilized correctly, starting with multi-lock. This is probably one of Dante's most underutilized tools, right? The longer you hold down light, the more projectiles you can charge. With some of the shittiest startup, there are multiple ways to keep yourself safe when holding this button. Firstly, you could dash while doing it, and you could also call an assist, as well as jump and super jump, right? In addition, you could press another button to cancel out of it, right? Which is always nifty. If you double tap acid lock, mostly lock though, you get acid rain, right? This is possibly one of Dante's best moves for meter gain mid combo. Sure, usually requires you to do jump cancel from prop shredder, but you'll make up for the damage with the meter you gain, right? So that'll look like this. Right, so those extensions or whatever the fuck. The real downside of acid rain is that it's RNG, right? All the projectiles are RNG, no matter what, right? It's never consistent, right? So I found certain routes that work with this, but even when things are properly spaced due to the nature of acid rain, it doesn't work in a lot of combo routes, right? So while it's super duper useful when you're trying to confirm off this guy, or you're in the corner and you like hit him with a wall bounce and you do something like, wait, hold on, you do something like this. Okay, that's not it, but something like that, right? There's like no real other way to force it to hit the way you want it to. Now RNG falling projectiles I found with certain route, yeah, everything's volatile. Through conversions and field usage, I find that acid rain after heretics is probably the safest way to get it out. But if they have a beam like Dr. Doom or Magneto, they can still like really rock you after this. So just try to be mindful of when you're throwing this. But usually anytime you get heretics out, you should be able to get this out. Next we have reverb shock, which is essentially Dante's fastest special move, just as fast as his normals, 8 frames, right? It's great for whiff punishing, but actually sends Dante sends Dante forward a good distance after he uses this move. It's also decent when you need a multi-hitting move to come out just before an assist comes down, so it's an easy way to pressure with assist behind it, right? It can be used mid combos and be followed up with fireworks. Some will opt out of fireworks because there's a chance of, if the opponent's too high, they'll swap on the other side and you'll whiff fireworks entirely, right? So you really got to be careful with this. And notice I misspelled that. So from here, it could also be used as a way to V cancel. I'm bad at this. There it goes, right? That's another video I'll leave at the bottom. This is very useful for full screen pokes. If you want to be able to pop an assist call or whatever the fuck, like that's a great move. If you show people that you have that in your arsenal, you expose that they don't really have full screen assist calls, because you can shut that shit down like almost any time, right? From here, it could also be used as a combo ender. This thing also works as an OTG. All right, so if I could get it, if I could get it, if I could get it, if I could get it. I suck at this, but yeah, doing this does count as an OTG. Fireworks does count as an OTG. Maybe if I put him to standing. No, that's guarding. See, I'm not smart. One day, I'll be able to get this. I gotta cut this. All right. A few moments later, I'm gonna cut this footage. Nope. Wow, I got the hard one. There it goes. Jesus, I hate everything about this. That should have not taken that long. All right, so mostly picking up an assist who happen to fall out of your combo. It's a happy birthday combo. Yada yada yada. Reverb Shock also has the ability to go into Crazy Dance, which is this move right here. Right. You have 2 frames to go into Double Trigger into DHC, which allows them that spin out. I'm not good at that, so I'm not even gonna try to fucking do that shit. If you're in the corner though, right, and you end up doing this, you could get a snapback. Hopefully this lands. No. Alright, that's not gonna land. Whatever, fuck me. Regardless, it's a very niche move, and I don't really recommend this unless you have like Virgil or somebody who could be able to have a move like Double Trigger, like a stance type of thing, right? So from here, we have Twister, which is, it has some pretty uses, but it's usually overshadowed because a lot of Dante's moves don't kill the scaling like the way Twister does. Right, so it's decent for OTGing after, especially after like a whatchamacallit, low air grab, right? So no, we do this, right? That's a thing. It also can nullify some projectiles, which is pretty cool, but I don't really want you to expect to win projectile wars against like people like Morrigan or Zero by using this. Like, this is literally like a 1 projectile type of nullification thing, right? Hell, even if you do this shit against like Ryu or Akuma, expect to get hit with a Hadouken super, right? So just please be super mindful. Let's see. It has its uses and neutrals, but it's like definitely one of those things where conditions apply. For the last set of his special moves, use the light button, we have both Killer B and Hammer, right? Killer B is a solid move that allows Dante to change his trajectory immediately and sending himself down forward with a very active hit sphere under him, right? Also hits overhead, simple way to convert straight hits, but immediately takes away your ground balance, so you're limited to combo options, right? If your opponent blocks this while grounded, it's highly recommended to immediately double trigger to keep yourself safe. You can't get popped out of this if their buttons are fast enough and they block it, right? If you double tap it, you will get the hammer, which has a light bit of invo frames from frame 9, I think is invo, but I wouldn't depend on those frames to prevent you from getting anti-aired a lot of the times, right? It can prevent you, but if people know that you're gonna press hammer, they could just delay their button through the invo and hit you well after it, because by the time he's swinging, that invol's like already away, right? Most times Helmbreaker could be used in a hammer. Most time Helmbreaker could be used in a combo. Helmbreaker fits in the same spot as well. The only difference is that Helmbreaker has less startup, more recovery. This has more startup, less recovery, right? But they essentially do the same thing. They give the same damage. They apply the same amount of hit stun deterioration, right? So just keep that in mind. Excuse me. I got a burp again. Definitely easier to follow up after Hammer though, just because of that recovery being better than Helmbreaker. All right, so for the start of Dante's moves with medium, we have Crystal. I surprisingly used to cut off box dashers and tri dashers can nullify some projectiles and can even beat out EX Thunder Knuckle if far enough, right? Can be used on as a meaty on incoming if they don't have any air options. And always really allows for like safe pressure afterwards, right? As I mentioned earlier, the way to get the best spacing on this is to immediately use crouch, whatchamacallit, after it, crouch medium, because whether they block this or not, that's a frame trap, right? So let's just put this to all guard, right? Oh damn, smash a bitch, right? They really can't do shit no matter the character, right? That's like consistent. It could also be used as a meaty on incoming if they don't have options. I personally abuse this move on characters like Amaterasu and Rocket Raccoon, but most of the cast can. It really got to be used sparingly. From there, we have a Million Carrots, which is mostly used for stacking lots of damage early in the combo, but it can be used pretty late as well. It's also a decent anti-air, but the recovery on this guy is pretty slow, so I wouldn't recommend this without using meter behind you just to keep yourself safe. After that, we have Volcano, which I would say is one of Dante's most useful specials, right? It has solid damage. It's anti-airing, including Vajra, and it's also OTG, right? Optimal combos will use this move as much as possible to stack quick damage. It's straightforward, doesn't really have any special tech behind it as far as I know of, outside of double stuff or like Tiger Neen stuff. It's possible to just apply some stupid shit, but after Volcano we have Beehive, right? This move causes the ground bounce, and it's possible to reset your ground bounce in the corner when following up after Skydance. The timing's kind of tight, so it's best to buffer everything as early as possible when you hit the floor. His next special move that uses medium is Revolver. This move is seldom used, and you will really only see this when you come across when you see Dante up against characters who box dash. So your Novas, your Trons, your Amaterasus, people who have like their main form of movement is aerial forward dash, right? Aside from that, this move is actually kind of ass because it immediately uses your ground bounce, but the ground bounce it supplies does allow for a high enough thing, so this way you could at least get some fucking gunshot loops after it, right? Now we finally have it. The move everyone's been waiting for, knows and loves. This bitch right here. Essentially Dante's easiest way to get some form of semi-horizontal coverage. This move can be charged to increase durability. Useful against almost any opponent. This move is single-handedly what people use as zone 90% of the time. While it's pretty good, getting into the habit of constantly using airplay could get you blown up pretty quickly. Dante is very vulnerable when charging this move, and he will get hit or grabbed by people with fast speeds or teleports. Please, if there's any way that if there's anything you take out of this video, usually this move every 2 seconds will do nothing but limit you and force you into a mind state of, I keep getting rushed down, this character sucks. And I fucking mean that shit. I swear to fucking God, I mean that shit so much. Fuck. All right, moving on to the heavy moves. We're going to start with Heretics, right? Best used in full screen. I grow fond of trying to figure out which Oki setups on people. Figuring Oki setups with that move, right? Also, one of Dante's moves I wouldn't really use without an assist, as there's too much stuff that could go full screen and just like blow you up before that shit even comes out, like beams and whatnot, right? And what I mean by using it as an Oki is something like this, right? So after this, you get a full backdash, you do this, and whichever way they roll, they're forced to eat the rockets, right? So I try to figure out, I'm trying to figure out more situations like that. When I come up with them, I'll post them, yada, 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 right? If you want something a bit faster, pressing heavy again will bring you grapple, which brings closer opponents closer to you, right? It's very possible to set up unblockables with this, with starting high-low stuff immediately after. So you'll do this, call an assist that hits low, like Dante, right? Deadpool, because it comes out a little bit kind of delayed, but you're forcing a stand situation, and then you hit him with that, and it really is just like a true unblockable, no matter what, if they can get hit by this, right? Has some of the greatest combo potential as it conveniently places people right in front of you for the proper spacing with gun loops, right? Once again, very slow move, and I cannot stress using this move when you have that, unless you have Devil Trigger. If you're in Devil Trigger, do not fucking use this move, I swear to God. Just when you're a Devil Trigger, this move does not exist. Just unless you're in a combo, that move does not exist in neutral, and I stress that shit, right? Now to everyone's favorite assist, Jam Session, right? Jam Session is very underutilized, I feel, when Dante is a point character. Most of the times you'll see people apply this move is when they're an X Factor and they need an infinite, right? Which absolutely viable. I'm not stressing that, but it does have more uses than that, right? Because most people would expect Dante to teleport if there's like a Dr. Doom, a super jump screen, a height, or whatever the fuck. It's absolutely possible to just go up, dash up a little bit, use Jam Session to negate the finger laser and hit Doom at the same time, right? Comes out 13 frames, sends Dante moving forward. With this in mind, it's definitely a decent way to hit underneath people and cross them up. So like, let's just say, for instance, you could do something stupid like this. Wait, no, that's a little bit too early, right? So I'm pretty sure that crossed, but because I'm letting them move forward a little bit. Let's try to delay it a little bit. That's not delaying it. Yeah, so it's definitely a nifty way to 50-50 somebody. Don't use this shit in block strings though. Shit's about like what, -9, I want to say, which in Dante's terms is light years, right? Confirm me know if Jam Session requires either X Factor or Devil Trigger, but it's definitely possible to confirm off of normal jump height to super jump height with this. I wouldn't say super jump height, but just like a little bit here, right? So right where I'm about to swing, right in this range right here, right? So if they're just a little bit above normal jump height, you can be able to confirm into some shit like that if they're in the air, right? But aside from that, yeah, it's kind of rough, right? From here we have Jetstream. This is a meme. Don't use this ever unless you're in a combo. If you ever see me using this move, please understand it's an accident. I never mean to use this move. If you ever see anybody using this move, please understand it's an accident. No one ever means to use this move. Unless they're memeing, and if they're purposely using this move, they're memeing. Like, just please understand that, right? So it is definitely possible to combo after Stinger. Use that as like a finisher to your combo. Absolutely. Any other way that you're using that move, you're memeing, right? If even if like we want to put up the argument of like, oh, there's super jump height, and then we could use Strider and go underneath them like this. Just teleport, bro. Just teleport. You're probably going to be able to confirm way easier anyway. Like, why are you going to put yourself way further away and have all kinds of recovery if you're going to try to fucking confirm off of Vajra assist if they're super, like, you're memeing, bro. I don't want to hear it. You're memeing. What's this last part? If it actually lands and you lie and tell people it was on purpose, there's no way you'd really want this move ever. No one's gonna believe you anyway. All right, yeah. Very solid script. All right, so from here we have Skydance. which is a situational move where, you know what I mean? Like, if you're using this in neutral, you're just doing this because you're doing a hard read. On the teleport, a Nova super, if Nova uses super against this, I've actually tested this. Worst case scenario is that you trade and Nova still gets hard knockdown. You really have to like make a hard read. If you're doing this shit full screen and you fucking mess up that read, expect to die. Just expect to die, right? Like, I can't stress that enough. The only other time you really want this is combos, corner combos, yada yada yada. You could be able to use this as an X factor, loop launch a little bit. Shout out Shikimiri, right? Yada yada yada, right? Simple bullshit. Yeah, now that we covered all of Dante's moves with attack buttons, let's go over his specials. His S specials with double trigger included. Firstly, we have drive, very solid against grounded targets. It has 5 points of durability, so it'll negate exactly 1 fireball. It loses the beam, but still a solid option to throw out if you see the chance to throw it. It also hits behind, so it could be used as an incoming if they don't have air options, right? It's pretty nifty. If they're in the air and they get hit, you can combo, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, and it puts them right there. It's pretty dope. From here we have his special moves with double trigger, right? So first, you get that fly mode. Cool, right? When you're in fly mode, your air options increase from 3 to 5. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, damn. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so in X Factor, you get 5. Right? I guess out of X Factor, you whatchamacallit, definitely R2 slow. There we go. R2 slow. I'm sorry, I'm so stoned. So like, let's say for instance, in double trigger, you also get this. You get to shoot that multiple times or whatever the fuck, but we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about S moves, right? So the first one I would say is this one, which is pretty nifty. This is a decent way to get it in a block string. Right, it's very invul. The entire time he's moving forward, he does not have a hurt sphere, so you could use this as a way to get through a lot of bullshit and supers and whatnot if you time it correctly. However, the entire time he's charging up before it, you could hit him, and if you're doing it kind of at this space, expect to get grabbed right there. Just always expect to get grabbed if you didn't hit them and you whiff that, right? But the last move that we're gonna talk about is this guy right here, right? That's pretty nifty for long range pokes. Very useful for against characters who have a hard time hitting people at that top range. But aside from that, you'll mostly see that in like combo routes or whatever the fuck when using X Factor, right? So you'll see shit like this, yada yada yada. Yeah, and I think that's it for this stuff. Outside of me not mentioning that you get overheads if you're using this in a block string. If they block that, hold on. Whatever, right? Granted, that entire thing was sloppy, but yeah. To the next section. Alright, so this part we're just talking. I'll put my controller down. Have you ever had the life lead on your opponent and you just thought to yourself, what if I threw this whole shit away? Right? Look no further and by using raw teleport. For real though, like on some real shit, using raw teleports is the quickest way to make sure your opponent fucks you up, right? To make sure that this doesn't happen, we can use a few tools to make sure that, you know, your approach is safe when using teleports, right? So this way it's no longer a raw teleport. The quickest and easiest way to do that is to use an assist, horizontal beam or whatever the fuck, right? Why use your own resources when you have a team behind you, right? While I will always recommend trying to waste time with Dante, there are times where you do need apply pressure, right? Having a horizontal beam will make sure that your teleport comes out pretty safely, right? For the most part. If you find it absolutely to raw teleport, understand when it's possible, right? Most of the time you'll be able to see like when you're capable of doing it. Like if a Dr. Doom is just in the sky throwing like beams and finger lasers and whatnot, you could absolutely do it, right? If Trish is up there trying to waste time, you could absolutely do it, right? If Magneto is up there plink dashing, I stress this, you cannot do it. You gonna get grabbed, right? So you have to be aware of how you're all teleporting, right? If you're moving against somebody who does a lot of air plinks and everything, and you expect the raw teleport behind them, you could also expect to get fucked up, right? If they're more stationary, trying to do more special moves in the air, that's when it's a more viable option, right? Either way, I wouldn't even recommend still doing this shit. I'd just hit a motherfucker with jam session, call it a day, right? Like, fuck you up there for fight me down here, right? Yeah. Level 1 X Factor situational. Dante is usually expendable on teams. While he has one of the best assists, most of the time the anchor is much stronger than him, and he's probably an A tier at best on X Factor 3. As far as that goes, I guess the last segment is don't play Dante. He's a trash character. Just don't fucking do it. Okay, bye.